Well, how's it going? This is a quick breakdown from the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather first press conference of Los Angeles. It's the morning after the night before. Last night I made a few notes of what I noticed during the press conference. This is just going to be a quick breakdown from what I noticed. The anticipation is building and building. I think we're 5 weeks out from the actual fight. And this was their first kind of meeting after the signing of the contracts for the fight to go ahead. So, the first thing I noticed was, I always knew this is going to be a big fight. I always knew it's going to be massive. And in my head, I'm kind of thinking, this could be the biggest combat sports fight of all time, potentially. I'm not getting ahead of myself yet. Even before the fight, the commentators were kind of building it up, but they're, paid to do it, I suppose. This is going to be the biggest fight of all time. It's going to be bigger than this, bigger than that. They even threw out, this is going to be the biggest sports spectacle of all time. And it's kind of like, well, I don't know about that. You've the World Cup and American football and tons of things, these huge spectacles. So I'm not sure. But in terms of combat sport, it could be. Now, the first thing I noticed was the amount of people watching the live streams. I watched the Showtime? The YouTube channel, they live streamed it. I think UFC live streamed it as well. I think there's fewer outlets as well. The one I watched had during the height of it, had 350,000 people watching a fucking press conference. That was just on the Showtime. I think on the UFC one they had about 250,000 people, and I think you could round it up to about 1 million if you add up all the different outlets. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. The hype is just incredible. The media's done a great job of kind of building it up, and everyone has their opinion on it. It's this kind of weird fight that all the boxing purists, Floyd's going to dominate him. All the MMA kind of fighters and personalities are saying, no, Conor's going to throw out something different. He's going to surprise him and give him problems. The boxing purists kind of rebuttal him with kind of, he's Pacquiao and all these other great people that he's fought and beaten and figured out. So I think everyone wants to watch this circus show just unfold before us. So this is the very first, part of the act. This whole, whatever the fuck this is, this spectacle, it's not even a fight, it's a show at this stage, isn't it? I think everyone can agree on that. It's so much more than just a fight. And straight away, I'm not a fan of I love the personality of boxing, kind of. I love how you can be original and their walkouts to the ring, but the press conferences are there's too many suits involved, I think. Everybody, I was watching the live stream, you could see even the chat, you couldn't even read anything. It was just flying up, 350,000 people all trying to talk at once, and everyone to give their opinion, and everybody was just watching to see what the hell was going to unfold. And the first thing the boxing people did, well, first of all, they had some weird act on, some singer on the stage, and I don't really know what that was all about. Some singer, I don't know what his name was, singing some song, and the song was mimed. It was pretty obviously mimed as well, but whatever. I think it was just like to add to the spectacle. I'm not too sure. I was kind of like, what the fuck? And then they had, I think, the people over each company come in but then this was it. Everyone's so built up, and what's to happen next? It's gonna be Conor and Floyd squaring off, and I was like, here's two people over Showtime and over, I don't know what other company, and we're sitting there, and you must have talked for about 10-15 minutes, and it was the most boring, monotonous shite that were just drooling on over. I'm just like, no one cares about this. And first of all, it's some guy, and he was like, what was he saying? It was, this is the history of like Showtime, and this is all possible because of these great people, and this is this and this is that. And 10 years ago, Floyd, this is all possible basically because of blowing smoke up Floyd's arse. This is all possible because of Floyd Mayweather. He 10 years ago, he did this great thing, and then he changed his promotion and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm going for a piss. I was bursting for a piss, and I was like, I'm not, no point in I was holding on to it in case something good happened. And as soon as you started waffling on about Floyd 10 years ago, I'm like, well, this is going to go on for a fucking while. Floyd's probably pre-written the speech, handed it to him as a great, read this shit out about me. And I was like, I'm going for a piss. Because I was holding on, come back in, and he was still talking, so I was like, whatever. And it just took me away from it a little bit. And I'm like, just come on and get to the fucking exciting part. But then Conor did it brilliantly. Well, Dana come up first, and they were like, well, next up to speak is Dana. Dana come up after this fucking, must have been 10, 15 minutes of these kind of big suits talking. And then Dana comes up and he's like, deep breath. And he's like, his face is going fucking red. Dana's like a little beetroot up there. His face is like bright red. It was fucking hilarious. I thought he was going to have a stroke. You know, Conor McGregor, UFC, and, you know, hyping it up straight away. And it kind of just showed like he was like the man of the people. No bullshit, straight to the point. Here's why you came here. This is why, you know, here's Conor McGregor. And the whole place kind of erupted. Conor strolls up and he just kind of started talking. I don't think, he actually said it a few times after in the post interviews as well. He was saying he didn't know he to make a speech. You know, he didn't come prepared. He was just talking off the cuff. You know, he kind of mentioned things, trying to be funny. He mentioned, but you know, the kind of things you'd expect him to say. He talked about his son, his new motivation kind of thing. He talked about Floyd, you know, tax man. Look at him, he's not even wearing a suit. He's wearing a tracksuit. He can't afford a suit anymore. A few other Floyd digs, kind of like his cars. He has Phantom Rolls Royces or something. He's like, they're not the new model, they're 2012, you know. He did it kind of in a funny way. He did it, you know, he's he's got great comedic timing, Conor McGregor. I think that's a massive selling point for him. He's so entertaining to watch. He's so funny. And first of all, I'm going to get this out of the way. Yes, I am Irish myself. I'm a massive Conor McGregor fan. I've the utmost respect for Floyd Mayweather. But I come into this spectacle, the show, as a neutral, to try my best. I'm like, I love Conor and I want to see what Floyd brings. And if he's, you know, if he brings some good stuff, he's entertaining, I'm going to give him that. From what I know, he's the bad guy, you know. He's the kind of guy you buy the fight to watch him lose, and he just doesn't lose, and you're like, fuck, you know. But that's why nobody likes him. He plays up in the bad guy. That's his role. So I'm aware of that coming in. I know it's all a show, it's all an act, but I know the subtle nuances behind it all. You know what they're really trying to get at. You know, trying to get reactions and emotions and do things mentally to the other fighter. You know. So Conor come up to the stage after Dana. The crowd kind of lifted up again. They were so excited to see him. They kind of erupted. Conor walks up to the stage, and the first thing he says is, it was like, I wasn't even listening to them old guys, you know, fuck, like, thank fuck. And the whole place just erupted, you know. He was like the voice of the people. You know, he was saying what everyone else was thinking. Like, who the fuck are these guys? And later on he mentioned it as well, as some grey guy with like long curly grey hair. He was like, "Do you not see the Jewish lad, the afro, you know?" It was just, I just love that stuff. It's so funny. It's just, you know, it's so taken away from all of the businessmen, the shrewd, and you have to be all prim and proper. And you just have this fucking crazy Irish guy. It's just so entertaining to watch. Conor did pretty good, I think, considering that he didn't know he didn't make a speech. So he kind of said some things, you know, very thankful, all the rest of it. He sat down. And then Floyd got up. Floyd's turn to talk. And Floyd had a pre-written kind of speech, a pre-written spiel to shout out at Conor. Not being biased, I didn't like Floyd's at all. It felt so rehearsed. He was like a robot up there. He just kind of rhymed off about how much money he has, but not even in a funny way. Like, no, like funny things like, oh, he only made 3 million his last fight, I made 100 million type thing. And it was kind of like, so, like, that's not funny, it's not entertaining. Like, it's kind of boring. And it might have worked if the other person's like a nice guy. Like, if he's sitting there and Pacquiao's sitting across him, it's kind of like, right, I'm playing the role of the bad guy again, you know. Buy the fight to watch me, you know, lose, I'm gonna win, you know. That type of way of going at the fight. But it just, like, Conor was so entertaining, so funny, and then he stands up, and it felt so out of place. A lot of people thought he won, you know, the press conference, the trash talk. I'm like, first of all, he had time to prepare. And second of all, what he prepared was just the most boring, monotonous bullshit. He did some back and forth with the crowd as well. And I'm not sure if he does it all the time, if it's a thing he does, like, hard work, and they're like, something easy work or something like that. And then who's easy work? And the crowd points to Conor, I think it is. But it looked like they were kind of planted in the crowd. Like, there was people just kind of pointing and weird. It was very, very strange. And I kind of sat through it, like, just kind of like, trying to figure out what was going on exactly. It was pretty obvious that Conor didn't prepare. Kind of come up, just talked and named off a few things, and it was kind of funny, took a seat, And then Floyd come up then and was pacing back and forth and was trying to deliver things as if he was like giving a speech. Like he was a comedian, but there was no comedic timing. It wasn't in good taste. It wasn't funny. It was just I don't know. I just didn't enjoy Floyd's. Like it wasn't clever. It was just like, I have more money than you, and it was a bit like that. And it was just like, so what? Like, who cares? Like, Conor's a multi-millionaire as well. Oh, I'm a multi-millionaire more than Conor. And that was basically the gist of it. And just to show that it was pre-written and kind of thought out and pre-rehearsed, if you watch closely the press conference, just as Conor's towards the end of Conor's speech, if you look at Floyd in the background, he has a bag, his little snakeskin bag, and he's rooting through it, and he pulls out a piece of paper, and it's either the check that he uses during his speech to show that he has 100 million, which it could be fucking anything because he can't even read. So he messes around with a check, he pulls it out of the bag, and he kind of looks to make sure it's still there, and halfway through his speech he's like, oh no, show me the bag, and he takes it out and he's like, oh, 100 million, look. That was it really. They squared up, a lot of shit talking, you kind of expected that. Conor was getting into his head. And this is the thing I think is the most important. I'm not looking into things too much. I'm not one of these people who's like, oh my god, look at the body language, that means this and that means that, and he's nervous and he's afraid. I don't think these two men are afraid at all. Do you know what I mean? Like, of course not. They're absolute monsters. In their own regards. Like Conor, he's a multiple time world champion, exact same with Floyd. Like, these aren't like, oh my god, they're afraid. These are prize fighters. This is what they do. Trust me, they're not afraid on that stage. You know what I mean? They thrive off that. But I think one thing that Floyd notices is there was kind of things talked about this and kind of thrown out there, saying Conor was saying that boxing is a very limited form of fighting, and he is right. Boxing is just fists. MMA is everything. He kept on mentioning all the limitations Floyd is putting on him. He can't use this ounce gloves or that ounce gloves. It can't use Mexican made gloves. Maybe there's a difference in that. You can't use gloves made from horsehair. And I was like, what the fuck, horsehair? Okay. And all of these, every single limitation he could put on, and it's like putting on blinkers and so I'm gonna fight you, but only if all these certain aspects, all these certain things come together, then we can engage in combat. Or UFC, MMA, sorry, I'm not going to say UFC, MMA as a whole, is like you literally put in a gum shield, you maybe throw on some gloves to protect your hands and you stand in there and may the best man win. That's what they mean by it's a more pure form of combat. If you walk in there with just pure boxing, you're going to lose, 100%. You might get lucky and throw a punch and knock him out, but, it's just not going to happen. It's just not. And I think Floyd knows that. Floyd is a great, great boxer, one of the best of all time. But he's not a great fighter, if you know what I mean. Like, when I say fighter, I mean the overall package. I think he knows that he can push Conor's buttons, but I think the thing that will settle him now, maybe for the first time ever, is the fact that he knows, or he should know, that he's not the best fighter on that stage. And I think recently, before every single one of the fights, he could think that, like, no matter what happens, I'm in control. Even if worst came to worst, this guy came at me, what's he going to do? He's going to just box, and I'm a great boxer. That's what I train every day. With Conor, you don't know what he's going to do. Like, believe me, he's not going to throw anything, a head kick or strangle him or whatever he's kind of saying. But he's doing that to get inside Floyd's head. Because he knows that Floyd isn't comfortable with that, I think. Floyd, that's a different world. That's like living on fucking Mercury. It's just a different planet altogether. Floyd's good at throwing punches. That's a very, very small part of MMA. A very small part. That's completely regarding, jiu-jitsu and fucking Muay Thai and just everything. And I think Floyd knows that, and that's going to unsettle him, I think. And I think Floyd, he seemed a little bit more reserved, I think. I know he's just kind of pandering to the crowd, and he kind of mentioned a few things. And the reason that's kind of confirming this for me is that Floyd is thinking this in his head. Or maybe he's just preaching it back so the media have soundbites to use. He mentioned as well about the gloves and the octagon. He kind of got up on the stage and, oh, you say I'm afraid. I'm not afraid. I'll wear, 4-ounce gloves like in MMA. And after this fight, I'll even go to the octagon, and fight you there. And Conor, rightly so, stood up straight away and was like, no, you fucking won't, like, of course you're not going to do that. Like, like it wouldn't last 30 seconds. It'd be like Ronda Rousey versus Amanda Nunes all over again. Just light him up like a Christmas tree, take him down, and like he's a child in that world. You know, he doesn't stand a chance. Boxing, yeah, very limited form in a specific way. You have to wear certain gloves and blah 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 blah. MMA, you step in the octagon, he's lost, and he knows that. But I don't think he likes that though. This is my next point. Floyd. Okay, this is like the little conclusion I'm coming to. Okay, this is like everything that happened, and then this is my conclusion. First of all, the mind game's been played on both sides. Conor's always the one in control in his press conferences. You always see him. He's the one stealing Jose Aldo's belt. He's the one running around, running his mouth. He wins all the verbal battles. But the only problem is now is that the main production is Mayweather. You know what I mean? He's over everything. He is the main man. He had Conor's mic shut off during his press conference, during his speech, because he knew Conor would interrupt him, and he wanted to make it look like he was belittling Conor, and Conor had nothing to say. You know, he wanted to give off this perception to the media that, oh, Conor looked shook, Conor looked nervous. Like, Conor didn't give a fuck. He made Conor come out early on the stage. He made him come out. I think he stand on stage, Conor by himself for about 10 minutes. I think this is all getting inside Conor's head. It's just like, you remember who's the A side or whatever, you know what I mean? Kind of belittle him. And by doing things like that, he even come onto the stage down with all his cronies. Conor come onto the stage by himself. He stood there for like 10 minutes with the whole world watching him, basically. Then Floyd took his time, very, very kind of, I think late is the right word. I think he was late on purpose, you know, just to try and unsettle Conor, to say like, you kind of wait for me, you know what I mean? He didn't tell him about the speech. He tried to unsettle him, and I think that's to try and get one up on Conor. I think all this is trying to get in Conor's head. You know, Conor's mind game. I think during the back and forth, because Conor didn't make a speech. Sorry, I know he didn't make a speech, but he didn't pre-write one. He didn't think of anything. He only mentioned like small things like the IRS and tax man, but that's all kind of joking, you know. It was all in kind of good faith, I suppose. But I think if Conor wants to, Floyd showed, I think, I'm not looking into this too much, but Floyd showed chinks, weak chinks, I think, in his chainmail, say. Floyd's a walking ego, and I think it's easy to exploit that if you're the right fighter. I think Conor can. I really do. I think a lot of this is going to play into Conor's hands. By that, what I mean is, okay, next press conferences, so Conor can take advantage of Floyd because he's a walking ego. They only mentioned about the gloves and the octagon and the money. Look, the money. Oh, Floyd, you don't have any money, and he has to come out and try and prove it with checks and of 100 million. If he didn't care, you know what I mean? It's kind of like the same in boxing or MMA. If someone hits you good and you genuinely don't feel it, like you don't even acknowledge it. If someone hits you really good and you get sparked, and you know the bell starts ringing in your head, and you're like, oh no, that didn't hurt, that hurt. But it's the same thing. Him coming out trying to prove this shit with his check of 100 million on stage and all this other stupid stuff is like, if you genuinely weren't concerned, you wouldn't care. But if you mention anything about his money or call him a bitch, like say he's not brave or he's bitch made is the word he said a few times, I think you can easily get inside his head. Now, whether it's going to translate to the boxing ring, I'm not sure. I'm not stupid, and neither is Floyd. Floyd is an extremely, extremely successful boxer. Probably the most successful of all time. He's extremely intelligent. He knows what Conor's trying to do. He's not dumb. But I just wonder, can Conor get inside his head? And I think that's the thing to watch out for the next couple of press conferences, and watch that. Not Floyd getting inside his. 100% it's not going to happen. But watch if Conor can get inside his. If he can, that will play into Conor's game plan. Now, this is all a show. This is all just ice on top of the cake. This is all just entertainment. But there is some significance from Conor McGregor. If he can get inside his head, a massive if, this could play into Conor's hands during the fight. It could make him more aggressive. It could make him, if he can, and I think he can, if he goes along the lines of, if he starts bringing up things maybe a bit inappropriate, I don't know how it would work out, but even saying things about his wife, you know, beating women, that will 100% get reactions out of him, 100%. But I don't know if that'll be aired or what will be said, or maybe it could be already in a contract that if he mentions something like that, he's getting sued. I think Floyd's very good at protecting himself. Someone like Conor, he doesn't give a fuck. You know, straight away, fuck Showtime for They muted his mic as well. Do you know what I mean? He's like, fuck them. I don't give a fuck. He's there for the money. So if Conor can get inside his head over the next couple of days, I mean, properly get inside his head, properly get him angry. Look at the likes of, if anybody's interested in this, maybe from a boxing background and you don't really know much about Conor, if you're looking at him from a press conference point of view and look at him what he's capable of, he had to do a world tour for his fight against Jose Aldo. And I think if you go back and watch it, it's on Embedded, I think it is. And it shows Conor and Jose, they're going around Brazil, and I think they went to Ireland and tons of other countries. And it was all to promote this fight. Watch what Conor does. Conor's a mastermind at getting in someone's head. A mastermind. And he did that on purpose. He knows he's an aggressive fighter. And he just practiced that punch the whole time. He knew exactly who was going to come in. But it was that anger. Jose ran at him across the cage, threw caution to the wind, 13-second KO. All because of the press conferences. All because of that. And that's what I'm saying. If Conor gets inside his head, he will give him trouble that no other fighter's given him before. But it's a massive, massive if. If Floyd comes out and it's like, look, if Floyd comes out and it's work as usual, you know, come out here, bang, bang, just jab, walk around, outpoint them, get a decision, get your money, go home, retire. Your brain's intact, your record's intact, you know, and that's it. That's all you need. It's going to be interesting. Look out for Conor trying to get in Floyd's head over the next couple of press conferences. He will try to. Look at tonight especially. Conor didn't like the fact that he didn't know what to write. Tonight is going to be different. I guarantee you that. He'll have something for tonight. I guarantee you. And it's how far he's going to go with it. And what's Floyd going to do? He pre-wrote something. God, my fucking English. Whoa. He pre-wrote something last night. So it'll be interesting to see what he has for tonight. And if it's not just, oh, I'm rich, you know, 100 million check, woo. Now what can you do with that? Because it's not original, it's not funny, there's no even comedic value to it. It's just like some rich guy kind of telling you he's rich. No, it's just like whatever. So I'll leave it there for now. There are a few other topics I wanted to talk on, but I think I'll leave that for tomorrow night. So watch out for that and keep an eye out. If you like this, I'll try and do a review for each press conference. I think there's 4 in a row, so yeah, I'll be busy enough. Hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you then. Take care.